All right, Abu Hamza, you can join up. What's going on, Abu? How you doing?
What's up, Star Glenn? Do you remember me?
You said what?
Do you remember me?
I do. You're one of my videos. You're on my clips. How you doing?
Yeah, well, you got absolutely flamed.
Okay. So today's topic is Jesus is not a Muslim.
Yeah, what's the evidence for that?
Yeah, the argument is that the historical Jesus says things that, according to the definition of Muslim today in the English language, will not align with the religion of Islam. To qualify, in John chapter 5, which records a saying of Christ in the pool near the pool of Bethesda to the Jewish leaders of the time, Jesus says in John chapter 5 and verse 19, I'll read it for you right now.
We should honor this.
Jesus says, truly I tell you, one sec. Jesus says, truly I tell you, the Son is not able to do anything on his own, but only what he sees the Father doing. For whatever the Father does, the Son likewise does these things. So I just want to ask you real quick before you can respond. As a Muslim, can you say that you do whatever Allah does?
Yeah, first of all, you're presupposing that the Gospel of John is a historical.
I said I'll ask you a question and then I'll let you respond. So I just want to ask you first. As a Muslim, can you say that you can do whatever Allah does?
In that context, the way you're interpreting it is not correct, because
so
obviously
as a Muslim, can you say whatever? As a Muslim, can you say you can do whatever Allah does? Can you say that in your mouth verbatim? Can you say that?
No.
No, but Jesus here says it verbatim. So according to Jesus saying this, would Jesus be a Muslim in the modern definition of the word?
No, I don't believe that the biblical Jesus is a Muslim. I never once made that claim.
I'll let you go and answer everything I said. I just want to make sure we're on the same page. So you agree that the biblical Jesus is not a Muslim, correct?
Of course not.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. What do you want to say? What's your response? Go ahead.
Yeah. So you're presupposing that what the Gospels say are reliable. Right, and it was kind of funny. You're quoting from the Gospel of John, which has the highest Christology. So you will not be able to find these sayings in Matthew, Mark, and Luke. So it's kind of funny how you're going to these high Christology sayings and you're saying that these are historical statements. When if it was historical, then they would be massively attested. They will be attested in Mark. They will be attested in Matthew. But because they're only attested in the Gospel of John, and the Gospel of John is the latest Gospel, and it's obviously not historical.
All right. So you said that I went to the Gospel of John, but the Gospel of John is not the authentic words of Christ because it has the highest Christology. It's the latest Gospel written, and you don't find sayings of such high Christology in the other synoptic Gospels. Am I correct? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
As a Muslim, can you say that you are the Lord of the Kaaba?
Are you speaking about what Jesus says he's the Lord of the Sabbath?
Well, just answer me first. But yes, that's what I'm talking about. But as a Muslim, can you call yourself the Lord of the Kaaba?
Jesus doesn't say he's the Lord of the Kaaba.
As a Muslim, can you call yourself the Lord of the Kaaba?
No.
Okay. Do you believe as a Muslim that the Sabbath was instituted at one point by Allah?
Yep.
All right. So as a Muslim, can you call yourself the Lord of the Sabbath?
Yep, because Jesus in that context in Mark chapter 2.
So can you right now? I'll let you say what you say, but can you verbatim say that you are the Lord of the Sabbath?
If I was living at the time of Jesus, then I would be saying that, because the Sabbath is not instituted for me. Second of all, if you actually read the context of Mark chapter, I believe is it Mark?
Mark chapter 2, Mark 2 verse 23 to 28.
Yeah, Mark chapter 2, it says that the Sabbath was created for man. Not man for the Sabbath. Therefore, the Son of Man is the Lord of the Sabbath.
Beautiful.
Basically saying that.
So
humanity. One second. That humanity in general, we are all lords of the Sabbath.
So you could say that you as a Muslim, you as Abu, you are the Lord of the Sabbath.
Yes, because in the context he's saying that humanity is the Lord of the Sabbath. Yes.
So could you say that then? That you are the Lord of the Sabbath?
Yeah, if I was living at the time
Like
of Jesus,
like
because
the
Jesus
reason the
says,
reason I'm asking if you could say this because I want to see if you're actually honest. You know what I mean? So like for example,
yeah,
I for
I
example
would say that if I was living at the time of Jesus.
for example, I as a Christian I can't say I'm the Lord of the Sabbath because I do not have Lord means authority and I don't have that authority over the Sabbath because it was instituted by God Himself. So I cannot say I'm Lord of the Sabbath. So I'm gonna ask you as a Muslim, can you verbatim say that you are Lord of the Sabbath like Christ said it
Yeah,
here?
yeah. According to what Jesus says, he says that we're all lords of the Sabbath. You're the Lord of the Sabbath. I'm the Lord of the Sabbath. So yes, if this is an authentic saying of Jesus, yes, I would be Lord of the Sabbath. Yes.
So you are the Lord.
Because what does he say? He says
Mm,
the Sabbath was created for man, not
mm,
man for the Sabbath. So the Sabbath was created for me.
mm,
Therefore, I am the Lord of the Sabbath, according to Jesus.
So you are the Lord of the Sabbath, correct?
Yep.
All right, beautiful. Thanks for letting me know. All right, back to
So
back.
what else did you got?
Oh no, I just needed
What
that.
other verses?
I just
Because
needed.
Mark chapter 2, Mark chapter 2 is actually the weakest example for that.
I just needed you to say that. But now let's actually go to your understanding because I'm gonna now butcher your understanding there. I'm gonna chop it up because your understanding of Mark 2 is wrong. So let's go up to verse 23, guys. If you're watching, he just said that he Abu is the Lord of the Sabbath because in context of what Christ is saying, he's calling every human on earth Lord of the Sabbath because Jesus said the Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath. And he said the Sabbath was created for man. So Jesus is saying that every man is Lord of the Sabbath because the Sabbath was made for us. That's his understanding. So we're going to go to verse 23. We're going to go to the context of Mark chapter 2, also Matthew chapter 9 and Luke chapter 6, where this is recorded. We're going to look at the context and let's see if his interpretation fits with the context of the text. All right. Mark 2 verse 23, the Bible says, on the Sabbath, he was going for the grain fields, and his disciples began to make their way, picking some heads of grain. Verse 24, the Pharisees said to him, look, why are they doing what is not lawful on the Sabbath? Abu, one question. According to verse 24, why are the Pharisees asking Jesus why his disciples are doing something not lawful on the Sabbath?
Yeah, because they had a incorrect interpretation of the Mosaic law.
You're right. They had an incorrect understanding. That's good. But why are they asking Jesus? Why aren't they asking the disciples why they're doing what's wrong? Why are they asking Jesus specifically?
Yeah, because obviously they're the disciples of Jesus.
Beautiful. So Jesus has a certain authority over his disciples, right?
Yeah, because he's a prophet of God, of course.
And they're his disciples, right?
Yep.
All right, beautiful. Verse 25, Jesus said to them, have you never read what David and those who were with him did when he was in need and hungry? How he entered the house of God in the time of Abiathar the high priest and ate the bread of the presence, which is not lawful. Which is not lawful for anyone to eat except the priest, and also gave some to his companions. Jesus is quoting from 1 Samuel 21. So, Abu, why does Christ refer them back to David's event in 1 Samuel 21? Why does he do that?
Yeah, because he's saying that in times of need, like David in his time of need, right, you can make certain exceptions to the law.
Beautiful. That's good. You're right. You're right on the money. So verse 27, then Jesus told them, the Sabbath was made for man and not man for the Sabbath. What does that mean? What's he saying there? Tell me.
Exactly what it says.
It was made for us, right? Made for our benefit, for our well-being, those things, right?
It was made for us, yes. So
we right.
Are the Lord of the Sabbath, yeah.
So if it was made for us, that means we didn't make it ourselves, right?
It was made for us, yes.
It was made for us, meaning there's a being above us who made this day for us, right?
Yeah, it was made for us, yes.
All right. And then Christ finishes that saying in verse 28, so then, the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath. So, question to you, why does Christ relate this back to his original allowance of this in the start of the passage? Why does he then say himself that he, the Son of Man, has authority over the Sabbath? Or why does he say, you said it's not him. Yeah. Why does he say the Son of Man has authority over the Sabbath in the context of him saying that he allows his disciples to do this? Who would be the Son of Man according to the context?
Yeah, the Son of Man would be humanity.
According to the context, I mean. You're only looking at verse 27.
Yeah.
But the context is 23 to 28. So according to the context of 23
in
to
the context,
28, who would be the Son of
he's saying
Man?
that it was made for it.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
The Sabbath was made for man. Right? We agree. But then he says the Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath, and Lord means to have authority. And if I'm correct, he
Yep.
gave his disciples the authority to pick the heads of grain earlier, right? He told them that they can do it, right?
He gave them the authority. No,
Like he allowed them to do. He allowed them to.
interpretation.
So he allowed them to. He's allowing them to do that, right?
It was never. No, I'm saying he gave the correct interpretation of the Torah.
But is Jesus allowing his disciples to do that? Yes or no?
It's not like he's allowing them in the sense that they weren't allowed to do it before.
Is he allowing them? Like, is he saying they can do it? Yes or no? That's what I'm asking. Is he telling the Pharisees that they can do it? Yes or no?
He's saying according to the Torah, right? You can make those exceptions. Yeah.
So he's telling the Pharisees that his disciples are allowed to do this, right?
He's telling his disciples, yeah, that they have the correct interpretation of the Torah. Yeah.
So they're allowed to do this, right? Pick heads of grain.
Yeah, because the Torah doesn't go against that. Yeah.
And Christ is telling the Pharisees that he's allowing them to do it, right?
No, it's not that he's allowing them to do that. He's saying that this is how God made it.
Okay, let's go back. So they asked him, why are disciples doing this? And he brought them to... I don't use a script. These are not notes for anything. I'm just going off the text. The text says, don't you remember David picking bread from the temple of the God? And then he says the Sabbath was made for man, showing, like you said, that laws can be superseded for the benefit of mankind in times of necessity. And then he says the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath. In context, who is the one that has authority over the disciples that is telling the Pharisees that they could do what they're doing?
No, nobody said that he has the authority to do that.
So does Christ have authority over the disciples? Yes or no?
No, Christ has authority over the disciples, but in this context,
so then when the Jewish leaders are asking Christ, why are they doing it? They're appealing to Christ because Christ is the one who has the authority, right? Over his disciples.
Because he is because he's their teacher, right? So they're following what he says. They're following his they're following his interpretation. But
right, so he has the authority. We're going slow. We're going slow. So he had the authority.
Come on, man. How can I speak?
This is the thing. We like to read the Bible, like to study. So you ought to stay for the study, man. You butchered the text. I gotta give you the study. So according to them, Christ has the authority over the disciples, correct?
Yep, just like any other prophet, yes.
All right, nice. So Christ has authority over the disciples.
But the disciples.
So when Christ then says at the end of the text that the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath, and he's the one who is being asked why he's allowing his disciples to do this, and he told them that they can do it because in times of necessity laws can be superseded, he would then be referring to himself having the authority contextually, right?
Nope, that's incorrect. So him having the authority over the disciples, that doesn't mean he has authority over the Sabbath.
Thanks for coming. Come back either Sunday or Friday. He's a good guy, but he just doesn't like the text. I don't know why he don't like the text, man. I'm going to read y'all one commentary on this real quick so y'all could see what is said by this text. Why you keep giving me clips, man? Guy just gave me another clip. It's already a clip on my channel. He gave me another one. So I'm going to read y'all one commentary right quick so we could see the proper understanding of this real quick. It says here, let me get it from Matthew 9. Give y'all a commentary real quick. One thing for the Christians in here, a good way to understand your Bible when you read is to also read the commentaries as well. And one thing I didn't mention to him is that even in the context of the passage and the context of the chapter, Christ is called the Son of Man. Because Christ says the Son of Man has authority to forgive sins. And in the context of that statement, he forgave sins. So even in the context of the chapter, Christ is the Son of Man. But I don't even need to use that argument, because my whole argument is that Christ is the one who's allowed to, is the one who's able to let them do this act, which would supersede the law of the Sabbath according to him, because he is in fact the Lord of the Sabbath. So let me see. Is it Mark 9? Maybe it's Matthew chapter 8. Am I tripping? It's Matthew. I swear it's Matthew 9. Lord of the Sabbath. Is it not? Let me pull this verse up real quick, y'all. Lord of the Sabbath, Matthew. This is in Matthew. I know that. Where is it in Matthew? Matthew 12. All right, Matthew 12. Let me get this commentary for y'all real quick, and then we'll get to the next guest. All right. He says here, the law enjoining the observation of every seventh day as a day of holy rest, as all other laws, is in my power, as a commentator, and may be altered, enforced, or dispensed with as I see good. My disciples, therefore, are guiltless, were it only on this account, that they act by my authority and attend on me in my ministry, as the priests attended on God in the temple. This expression, is Lord even of the Sabbath, evidently implies that the Sabbath was an institution of great and distinguished importance. It may perhaps also refer to that signal act of authority, which Christ afterward exerted over it, and it goes on from 7th, first day. If we suppose here a transposition of the 7th and 8th verse, then the 8th verse is proof of the 6th. So the context of that chapter is that Christ gives them the authority to do this thing, and thus Christ has the authority himself as the Lord of the Sabbath. He claims that title for himself because he was the one who already gave them the authority, allowed them to do it. Meaning, who are you talking about? Christ having the authority to allow them to do this or X or Y. And now he's saying, I have the authority as the Son of Man, which is the title he uses for himself in the chapter itself.
Celebrating Jesus tonight, we sing praises.
We sing praises to our King, for he is the King of Kings. We sing praises to our King, for he is the King of Kings.
Everybody sing Jesus tonight. We sing praises.
We sing praises to our King, for he is the King of Kings. We sing praises to our King, for he is the King of Kings.
Everybody sing.